you to our guests and to our attendees. 2022 has kicked off and there ain't no going back. I think it's really worthwhile mentioning that whilst we came to the end of last year, people were Zoom fatigued and share fatigued. There seems to be a regeneration, and it's because we share great information in these sessions. So we've been asked, when are we having another share session? And I'll tell you, it's right now. And today we have a really good lineup of guests. We've got Henning Vesterbeek from Commercial Operations in EMEA, Hitachi Vantara. And Henning is responsible for sales, execution, and delivery of financial solutions in EMEA North region, covering a plethora of countries. In addition to his responsibilities of looking after a team, he looks after leases, on-demand consumption models, OpEx, and managed services. So he's got quite a broad portfolio. We were chatting to Malcolm just before we started, Strategic Partner Executive and Hitachi Brand Executive for First Distribution. Malcolm has over 20 years experience in IT. He's younger than he looks, but he's had a hard quarter. They're coming to the end of the quarter now, and Hitachi has smashed it out the park. Malcolm is responsible for making sure that the brand is well represented in the country, and we get access to great people through him. And then lastly, we've got Nazir Ahmed, Brand Manager, Sales Specialist, and Channel Partner and Development for First Distribution. I love the title, Channel and Partner Development, because Nazir is responsible for making sure that there's less friction between the partners and the OEM, and they can deliver solutions out there. Nazir, you've also been working for a long time, and I'm going to start. You know, we're not the new kids on the block anymore, and we've been hearing about customized IT infrastructure that can flex and bend with your business as a dream. That's what we aim for. And it's convenient because it gives you predictability on your expenses side, but it also allows agility for the business. In addition, it allows you to mitigate risks because you can flex up and down, or that's what the box has said on it. And I think today we want to take a deep dive to see if that really is still a discussion we should be having or should be expected, and B, what customers should we be looking for. So I'm going to pick on someone from our shores, and I'm going to say, Malcolm, with the clients that you're talking to today, why is it particularly important that they have this discussion now about a flexible infrastructure?
Well, firstly, good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time. And yeah, hopefully you'll find insightful messages coming in from First Distribution and Hitachi. So thank you everybody for joining. Daniel, with regards to your question, why the change, and where do we see this growing? So over the last 2 years, with the COVID pandemic and everything like that, people, and even actually prior to that, people have been looking at the cloud and looking at cloud solutions and all that, and a lot of the end users and business partners are getting a bit scared with regards to the egress data and ingress data. And then also, how do we, instead of going into the cloud, are there options for us to look at within our data centers? And what can we do with the data we've got within our data centers? So do we look at various cost options? So instead of buying something outright, do we kind of maybe look at a lease model? Do we look at it something as a service that we can build by on a monthly basis? So not kicking cloud out of it, but giving clients locally within South Africa other options than cloud. And a lot of the stuff has come, yes, we know that Azure's built their data centers within the country. AWS is busy with odds and ends. Oracle is also busy with some odds and ends with our country. But a lot of the guys are still wary of putting their data in the cloud. So why can't we, as FDI Hitachi, offer you another option of looking at hosting your stuff either at hosting a data center, hosting it at your own data centers, and look at a consumptive cloud consumption type of model and taking that forward. So we have seen great growth in this. Yes, we have, especially over the last 2 years. So yeah, we just want to get the message out there, guys. There is something else to look at. If you are worried about the cloud, if you are worried about putting it, come chat to us, come chat to FD and our business partners, as well as Hitachi Vantara, and let's show you what we're doing.
Henning, what is the change in the world, in the architectural world, that's resulted in this discussion being particularly important now, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think we've seen this trend the last 5 or 10 years, the move to the cloud. And when we talked to customers 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was very much like three important things. And I remember back then it was cost, and it was cost. So that was the key driver back then, right? And nobody really cared about, does it actually make sense? Is it a good idea for us as a company? What about security? But I've actually seen it's much more, it's different now because some of our customers, they've seen that they perhaps had this cloud strategy, want to move everything from on-prem, our own stuff, to the cloud. And I think, yeah, I can't actually mention one customer that's actually managed to do that. So many of the customers, they managed to do 20%, 30, 40 or whatever, and then they've stopped, and now they're seeing the cost from the cloud. It's actually not what they expected. It's not as easy to consume. It's perhaps not as cost effective as they thought. But for us, I'm working for Hitachi, as you mentioned before. It's not either or. It's not either you have your own box, your own solution, your own prem solution, or you use the cloud. What we see today is much more sort of, okay, we need to have both. We need to have stuff on-prem, and we need to use the cloud where it makes sense. And we see a lot of customers that for new workloads, for new systems, for new whatever, that's built for the cloud. Yeah, then of course it makes a lot of sense to scale that. We also see stuff that needs to scale up and down can be pretty good in the cloud as well. But then on the other side, we see customers saying that, okay, but then we have a lot of stuff here that we actually feel more comfortable if we can keep that on our own boxes on-prem or with one of our partners. So it's much different conversation today compared to what it was just a few years ago.
Wow, that's very interesting. I made a note there. Definitely the cloud honeymoon is over, and it seems to be a buyer's market. So there's a lot of choice out there. And Nazir, just to bring you in from a perspective of what you're seeing in South Africa, are we mature enough to understand that there's choice? Are our architects, are our project managers and CIOs educated that it's not an either or, that the hybrid world is here to stay?
Yeah, I think just to come back to the point that you mentioned, I love the Hitachi brand. I've been doing it for 10 years. And you asked the question, Daniel, does the box actually work? I can tell you it does. All right. So if you look at, it's like what Henning mentioned just now. If you look at companies that are moving to being born in the cloud works. That's perfect. Yeah. But if you go a bit up a tier to your mid-market customer and your enterprise customer, things change a little. You got varying workloads. You got workloads that run the company, that run the business. Is a CIO, or for that matter, a CTO, willing to put their critical data in the cloud? We saw maybe 3 weeks ago, so AWS was down for a day. And not to pick on a hyperscaler, but that's a good example. Now, how do you access your data? So I think what Hitachi's done, they've brought the cloud look and feel into your own data center, where you now have control. You have control. If you speak to every CIO today, the biggest pain is, do I have control over my data? From many aspects, and security being one of them. All right. So what Hitachi's done, they've brought the cloud look and feel, the consumption model into your data center, and with that, they've packaged it with this. In my opinion, is a very sexy sort of commercial model that can suit the customer. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is definitely a space for it. To come back to your question. Yeah.
Okay. So we are talking about Everflex solution. And we are going to dive into Everflex as a solution. But if you could give me a high-level elevator pitch, Henning, and I didn't prep you for this, but in 30 seconds, what is Everflex different from other hyperscalers or staying on-prem?
Yeah, when we built Everflex, and to be honest, we've been doing this the last 10 to 20 years, making consumer of these systems where you pay per month for what you consume. So there's nothing really new about it. And to be honest, what we do is very much identical to what you can buy from our key competitors. But for us, it was really important not to make a product that was really different from our key competitors, because we don't see our normal, take HP, IBM, whatever, Pure as our key competitors. It's more like, how can we make something that works with the cloud, how we consume in the same way with the same benefits as you consume in the cloud. Then of course the devil is in the detail, and we believe that we have a better solution from a technical perspective, and we believe that we have more flexibility in our solutions than many of our competitors. And that's probably one of the reasons why your next question might be, how come that you haven't introduced this 5 years ago or whatever? And I think it's it's a little bit. Let me
ask it just so I feel good. Are you not late to the dance? Come on,
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. You had to get that question right.
No, so I saw where you were going. You know, Hitachi, we've always been selling a big portion of our business, always been to banks and big financial institutions, government, etc. But we're definitely moving and becoming stronger and stronger in what we call the mid-market. So we're bringing our best technology to the mid-market, and by doing that, we also seen that we need to have some more fixed bundles, some more fixed products. You can buy this box for X amount, but you can actually consume it in another way as well, where you pay over time. And that's the reason why we're launching this now, or pushing it harder in the mid-market. Hitachi used to be built to order, as we call it, meaning that we don't have a standard solution. We don't have a standard box saying you need to have the blue box or you need to have the green box. Hitachi has always been very much about, okay, how do you need, what features do you need? You don't need to pay for stuff you don't need. And it's a little bit the same with the financial construct around it. It's not like one size fits all, where you need to do 80% commitment if we talk about commitment, or you need to do a 5-year term, or you need to do so. We're always talking to our customers, and we continue to do that to make a solution that fits our customers.
Malcolm, Henning and Nazir have both said flexibility. What is the flexibility about? Talk to me about what is inflexibility then.
Yes, should I say that? So normally, you know.
Sure. Did you see that save there, Malcolm? Did you see it?
He was waiting. He was waiting for that.
Don't get me started.
Better than a Liverpool intercept.
No, but
go, Henning.
Let me take that from a commercial perspective, right? Okay. So what we saw when we introduced this some years ago, we saw customers saying that, okay, in the cloud we have no commitment, so we need a solution from Hitachi with no commitment, and we don't have these discussions with customers anymore. They understand that, okay, it's fine that you do a commitment, but for me it's like renting a big truck, saying that, okay, please give me 10 trucks. Yeah, but what is commitment? No, I'm not promising you anything. I don't think you'll make Scania or Iveco or whatever do that, right? So there has to be some sort of commitment. But when we started this, we were pretty often talking about a 5-year commitment term, and we don't see that often anymore. And that's actually one of the areas where we sort of in my opinion, offer more flexibility than our competitors, but because we are happy with a shorter commitment period, and that gives, of course, more flexibility, because for many customers, it's hard to look 5 years into the future to see, okay, how much data do I actually need in 4 or 5 years from now. So we're seeing more and more customers saying that, okay, we would like to have a 2 or 3 or 4 year commitment. And of course, that's the same as flexibility, because you have the flexibility to move to the cloud later, or you have the flexibility to move a portion of your workloads to the cloud. So it's very much about talking to our customers. Are you actually willing to pay a premium to get the flexibility, or what is actually we are looking at? So we have some, customer specific discussions. So that's actually for me the most important thing, is to make sure that we scale it correctly, that we have these initial discussions with our customers.
Okay. So we're not talking about a technical flexibility. We're talking about a commercial construct, and we are talking about the construct of the engagement. So let's talk about customers that are midway through their digital migration. we're moving all sorts of applications to new platforms. We're talking about mega corporations that are moving multiple ERPs, manufacturing environments, CRM systems. Is there a common thread on how you suggest customers should be hosting workloads and reviewing workloads, where they should be on-prem, private cloud versus hyperscalers? Or do you just leave that to them and you say this is what Hitachi's got?
No, so I can pick up
Thanks,
that question. That's
Nazir.
fine. Yeah. No, so look, I think, it's not just something from Hitachi where we bring this box and we drop it in your data center and here you have a flexible model that you can consume. I think there's a lot of consulting services that happens behind it, firstly. Again, we talk about flexibility. You have the option of Hitachi designing a solution for you, obviously in an enterprise environment where you speak of these huge ERP systems that you want to move onto the Hitachi platform. So the consultative approach is definitely there from Hitachi. But we also look at it from a customer perspective, all right? I mean, obviously, as Henning said, we're not saying you can't use a public cloud. So some of the smaller workloads can definitely reside in the public cloud if required. But the bigger stuff, like your ERP, is the stuff that drives your business, that's core to having a business up and running. We recommend that you probably have on-prem or a sort of hybrid approach, where Hitachi will help you to build this consumptive model that helps you move your business onto a more flexible platform. So it's not like we're saying here, day one, let's move your ERP system onto Hitachi. It's going to be definitely a consultative approach over time. And I can tell you today, Daniel, we have customers that Hitachi have successfully transformed onto their as a service platform.
Awesome. That's good. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to circle back to actual customers and what they've been doing. Malcolm, you've got a large a range of partners. Are you seeing a similarity in how they're adding value to customers' digital aspirations? Is there a common thread when they're evaluating where architectural decisions should be made, or is everyone doing their own thing? Is everyone bespoke?
I wouldn't say everybody's bespoke. I mean, look, everybody wants to run their business the way they see best for them, right?
Okay.
What Hitachi and business partners are doing for end users is trying to find the best solution for them on their go-to-market. And there's a big thing that Naz also mentioned, and Henning as well, consultative stuff. Okay. So guys aren't just rushing in anymore. And if you take it maybe 2 years ago, everybody was rushing in, I need to buy this, I need to do that, we need to make changes, let's push everything to the cloud. People have started slowing down. And with that consultative process between the vendor, the distributor, the business partner, and collaboration with the end user, they've figured out that not all solutions fit everybody, right? So there are a lot of changes, there are a lot of differences and that's why the consultative thing is so how can I say, it's a necessity. It's a necessity because you've got the various brainchilds from the various divisions. I want my business to run this. This is how Hitachi runs. Okay, this is our business partner and FD come to the party. To bring all of that together, it will create a different solution for an end user or a solution. So there are different solutions out there. Yes, not all of them are the same. There are different. But that's a great thing about our industry, right? It's not everybody standing in a row and yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. It's like, I want to do it like this. Let's do it like it. And Hitachi gives you that opportunity to grow it and do something different. And yes, so yes, it has been a great grab on our side, if I may. And our business partners have grown, and our clients, our end users are growing with our business partners. So yeah, we're seeing some good changes. Thank you.
And Nazir, I see you've had a look at Samir's question, which I just want to read to our audience. Samir Khan has asked, what advice would you give to an organization trying to find out which model is right for their project? I'm going to, Nazir, you step forward, you took the baton there, and then I'm going to bring Henning in, and I'm going to reframe the question. So you're going to get double on this one, Samir. Okay, go, Nazir.
Yeah, Look, it's what I said previously in my previous answer to your question. I think we would have to approach Samir and sort of have a sit down with him and discuss, again, what sort of workloads you're talking about. What does his business actually do? How big is his business? So it's not a sort of bang approach where we say we can where one sort of box fits all. I think it's very consultative. But what I can tell you is, from a Hitachi perspective and from a brand, I think they cover all areas, all right? If you look from a solution perspective. So they're built on storage. I mean, they've got solutions around object store. So you've got structured, unstructured data. They have analytic solutions. They've got IoT. So I think from a Hitachi brand perspective, we can tick all the boxes. But when it comes to a customer, we need to sit down and say, well, what are you actually looking for? All right. Is it a one size fits all, or do you need a large approach, and you flex up and down? So there's lots of ways to skin a cat, Daniel. It's a discussion that we need to have with some.
I like that, Nazir, that there's lots of ways to do this. Henning, I'm going to restate the question that Samir has asked. So what advice would you give to an organization trying to find out which model is right for their project? And their project in this, I'm going to assume, is a digital transformation of the organization.
So what we saw some years ago was that many customers just had this impression that the cloud is cheaper. So we need to go to the cloud. We don't even have to look at the numbers because it's cheaper and better. End of discussion. And that came to many of the senior people, board members, etc. So they took decisions based on that without really sort of doing their homework. And that's I think the key thing for me. And now when talking later on with these customers, so sometimes the cloud can be cheaper. Sometimes it's the same, but pretty often it'll actually be more expensive. So the key thing for me is that actually you need to spend a bit of time, right, from a technology perspective. Does it make sense about security? Does it make sense? But also from a cost perspective, because certain things will be cheaper in the cloud, certain things will be the same, but other things will actually be more expensive, will be cheaper to keep on-prem. And so, but for me, when we talk to customers, it's not always cost anymore. It's also about, data is so important nowadays. So saving a little bit of money, I think Malcolm mentioned it before, right? Is it worth saving 2% if you're down 2-3 days during a year? Because the public cloud doesn't work, right? So it can be really, and I think customers see that now, that it's not really black and white anymore. And that's one of the reasons why we're saying it doesn't have to be either or. Probably the best solution is to do a mix. And for me, it's a little bit like, is the train cheaper than the plane? I don't know. But I'll normally check if I need to go from A to B, right? But pretty often people, because the bus or the train is cheaper. But did you check? No, because it's cheaper. Sometimes you just need to do a simple check, right? And I think the same goes here for these.
I think that's a moment worth taking down. Is the plane cheaper than the train? Because it depends on what you're heavy lifting and how soon you need to get there, and all of these other things need to be considered. And I really like the fact that we need to stop, think, and then engage. It's not just an answer that's out there. There's a very definite question for you, Henning, from Muzi, which is Muzi's clearly done a little bit of work on Everflex. How can companies use Everflex as a storage as a service to optimize their resources in a hybrid cloud environment? Did you read the pre-sales material, dude?
So, I don't know. I think that's more technical question, is it? Because I can answer from a cost commercial, but I think it's more technical question, isn't it?
I think it might be a little bit more technical. Do you want to take it, Nazir?
What is that? Yeah. Well, what is that question again? Sorry.
How can companies use Everflex as a storage as a service to optimize their resources in a hybrid cloud environment?
Yeah. So look, what Hitachi actually offers, and again, I hate to say it's opposition to the hyperscalers, but they offer their own storage as a service, right, on-prem, as opposed to in the cloud, which is one of their solutions. So what I've seen and the examples we've worked on from a solution perspective, if you look at the way data sort of maneuvers itself in the cloud, as Malcolm mentioned, the ingest and the egress, there's cost involved in doing all of that, all right? So with Hitachi, you have an on-prem storage solution, all right? And we've done exercises where we've seen from a cost perspective, it is definitely cheaper to go with the Hitachi route. From a solution perspective, there's various solutions that Hitachi has in a hybrid storage. So they've got an object store where you can keep, as I mentioned previously, a more critical data on-prem, but you can also tier into the cloud stuff, like your, I don't want to say HR data because that's wrong, but the lower tier data, right? And if you feel that you're not going to access that data too often, then by all means move it into the public cloud. It's definitely worth it. But if you have data that you're going to access all the time, then Hitachi has a solution where you can keep it on-prem.
We're talking about high access, high volume data.
100%. And then obviously, and I know we've got some hyperscalers in country, but I think for some customers, I think governance and compliance is still a big issue, in terms of storing your data in other data centers. So there's lots of elements we have to look at, but Hitachi covers both bases, Daniel. You can have your own storage as a service on-prem, or we can do a hybrid solution.
And your integration then in is taking.
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
I want to ask a more human question of you, Malcolm.
I just wanted to add something to Nazir's point there, if you don't mind. So you're talking about like the on-prem high performance and then breaking out into the cloud, okay? But how cool will it be if you take your on-prem high performance and have that as a consultative model in your environment? I mean, so this is one of the things that we're trying to get to, right? You've got your on-prem, but also have it as a consultative, as a cloud-based OpEx in your environment. Instead of buying out one big box, boom, there we go. Let's do a scale as you grow. Are you using this? Are you only using Hitachi only bills you for what you use? So why not put that on-prem high performance stack on Everflex? Sorry, Naz, I just wanted to add on to that, just to break it up a bit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just put the numbers
that's brilliant.
Into perspective, if I may. Thank you.
That's
Sorry,
brilliant.
Daniel. Sorry, thank you.
Malcolm, you work with a number of partners. You represent a number of partners as your group of that's what you do. What's different with working with Hitachi Vantara compared to others? Why are you even here? Why is it so good to work with these guys? Because you have a real passion for this relationship.
Yes, I do. So the passion stems from a few years, if I may. But what I've seen growth. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history of Hitachi in South Africa. We as First Distribution have been transacting with them for the last 7 years. But everybody always used to say Hitachi cost. No, it's for the big banks. It's for the big insurance companies and all that. And we're trying to change that that message that's going out there, just to prove to guys. But look, you've got your mid-market, you've got your high performance. Everything's got a fit in somewhere. So what I've been trying to do, and with Hitachi and the local Hitachi team, is trying to open up the market to guys. Look, Hitachi's got a good story to tell you. They really do. And give us the time, which a lot of people have today. Thank you. But give us the time to show you the value offering from a Hitachi perspective. And that's what we've done for the last year. And Daniel, I'm going to be honest with you, I can't share numbers, obviously, but this has been our best year. And I'm talking about our financial year, which starts at the 1st of February. Actually, coming to the end of our financial year now. Sorry. So it starts on the 1st of March. So stressful days, guys, you know it. But
you lost all your hair about that.
And it's going grey very quickly, yeah. To see the market grow within Hitachi, not just in the FSI space, but to see what the SMB market is doing with Hitachi and with the Everflex, it is amazing. It is something the guys have grasped onto, and we have seen major growth. So I'm not going to, I don't like competing against other vendors and all that kind of stuff, because we are a multi thing. But to tell you what we've been doing internally with Hitachi, we've changed the market. We have, and I'm excited about this. I'm passionate about it. And give us a call, please. We've got a range of business partners that are certified.
Yeah, wait.
I'm jumping the gun.
Nazir, you've rolled your sleeves up with the Everflex team. What's it like working with their consultants? Do we have to bring people up from East Singapore, South Japan, and North Dakota, or how do you access them, and how responsive are they?
I'm like 2 blocks away from the to the right of the person that I actually work with on the opportunity. So he's on the call actually. No. Look, yeah. So we work with Henning on deals and Henning as a team, but locally, I mean, you can approach any of the Hitachi staff, to help, and they'll rope in Henning. So I can tell you off the bat. If you're looking for a new solution, and after doing the consultative work, and you have the infrastructure in mind, and you know what you want to achieve with it, so Henning can back me up here. I mean, we can get out a model at a budgetary price in a day, right, Henning?
Yeah.
Wow. So they're responsive, and that's kind of different. So and they seem very humble to work with, except for Henning, because he supports the wrong football
It's a really bad line, but
Henning, if we are talking about a new a rollout of Everflex, is it a total rip and replace, or can you work with other infrastructures? How does it deploy?
Yeah, good question actually. Because what we sometimes do is we buy back the existing kits. Sometimes if it's a big installation, then we reuse a portion of the customer has today, and then we build the Everflex on top of that. But what we normally do is that we start a new journey with a new box or new systems, because that's easier, that's better for us, and it's better for the customer as well. So normally I call it a journey, meaning that we can have this buyback, but then we start a new, could be 3 years, could be 4 years, could be 5 years, a new contract term with new technology. Then you get the benefit of the best technology available.
Okay.
And then
so we're talking when infrastructure is coming to end of life, and we're evaluating Everflex steps into it.
Correct. That's normally what we do, but we also have customers that's been buying, one system per year. So let's say they have 5 systems, right? Then of course you're never coming to that situation where you're sort of end of life, because you always have but pretty often we'll have it. But actually we just a few months ago we made a big Everflex contract in South Africa, renewing about half of what they have, putting that on the Everflex journey. And then the plan is within the next 2 years to take the other half and add that on to this new box, where they'll pay this consumption base going forward for the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be either or, it can be,
So we're coming back to choice. People have choice. We have choice.
Yeah.
When you're looking at putting together a business case, Nazir or Malcolm, what sort of ROI are you looking at for clients today? What models are we looking? Are we off balance sheet, on balance sheet? Does it even come into the discussion? Where does it fit into the customer's world when we are talking about Everflex?
Malcolm, you can go first. I'll chat after you.
So the return on investment. So on the studies that we've done locally, if I may, and we're looking at about a 20% ROI, and that's based on the 2 GTMs, go-to-markets that if I may, that we've done on this last year. So there is, and that's looking at it against on-prem. Okay, so I'm going to give you a number. It's been a 20% ROI, return on investment, and that answers the question. But so
we're looking at an ROI against throughput and against the old kit, and when we're going to get payback on that. So is that part of when you put the business case together for customers? Do people still look at ROI, or is it actually we just look at the bill?
Yeah, no, ROI is done to it, and that's what we were mentioning consultative efforts and all that kind of stuff. Let's do that again. Sorry. Yeah. So from when we start consulting with a business partner, and we start finding out, and the end user, and start finding out what needs to move, what's going to stay, what's going to move, are we looking at? That's when we start putting in the calculator, if I may, and start, okay, so if you do this, if you move this application, if you move this across, we're going to do a monthly billing of this or a quarterly billing of that or a yearly billing. It all depends on how the client wants to structure it. This will be your savings, X, Y, and Z. All right. So it all varies on, once again, the choices that are taken and the go-to-market that these clients want to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I think. Sorry, Daniel. Yeah. I think ROI is one thing. The other thing is, I mean, I'm sure you've seen in the past, I don't know, 4 to 5 years, the shift from CapEx to OpEx.
Yes.
And a lot where the CFO has now become involved in these IT deals, right, with the CIO. So it's not just the CIO's decision, but it's also the CFO together. And they're going to look at, well, which is the best approach. And most of the time, the shift to the cloud is pushed because of OpEx, to drive towards OpEx. So I think that's where, and I don't want to say it was a gap, but that's where Hitachi has been driving this model for years, actually. So the Everflex it hasn't been called Everflex, but I've been dealing with Hitachi for about 10 years now, and it's always been there. So it's not something new. It's just in the past 2 to 3 years, they've brought it to the channel where partners can now benefit. So for me, it's more around how, what's being driven in the customer environment, the shift to this whole sort of OpEx spend. And that's where we have to capitalize, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Henning, are you seeing customers in Europe and the rest of your territory consider the payback options, or is it now it's almost like lights and water and power?
Yeah, it's actually more like that. So pretty often we are seeing this, what is the price in the cloud? Because customers understand that it's a cost. It's not like buying a house. You just buy it and then you have it forever, right? So it's a cost per year or per month or per day that you need to have, right? So it's not about getting it paid. It's more like this monthly cost you just mentioned, right? So it's more like, but what is the price per gigabyte per month is normally what you sort of look at, because that's pretty easy to compare our solution towards the cloud. What is it actually you're paying?
Isn't it an interesting maturation of where we are? Is that it's almost just becoming an expense that you have to pay for, which leads me into Kenzie's question. Kenzile Sibuyi has asked, is there a guarantee that Everflex will continue providing consistent and high-performing offerings to its partner? Who talks like that? Great question, Kenzile. But I mean, now we've subscribed to the service.
I love
what
that question.
Says that Henning's just going to actually take it away and he's going to head for the Bahamas and then my customers bugger? Who's taking that? Come on, Nazir.
Henning has a legal team. He has a legal team. He can't just do what he feels.
He's got a legal scheme. We've heard these legal schemes. They end up in Dubai with my cryptocurrency. The ugly people. So Henning, what is the guarantee that we've got here?
No. Yeah, one thing we perhaps haven't really touched is that our solution is an on-prem solution, right? Meaning that our box, paid as Everflex is still an on-prem, or if the customer decides that it should be in a data center, but it's not a Hitachi, it's not in our premises, it's not in our, so they still have it, in their basement. So it's just basically it's just another way of paying for the same box, right? So they still have the same right to use it, the same, everything. And as long as they pay for it, that's probably, it's the same as renting a car. As long as you pay for it, right? I think the rental company is happy for you to keep using the car.
So as long as we're paying, we're covered by Hitachi.
As long as they're paying, Henning smiling, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And if you and there will be contracts around the service level agreements that come with it, in any cloud offering that is out there. You wanted to add to that, Nazir?
No, I actually want to speak about the legal part of it, but you touched on it. Yeah, look, it's contractual. Everything's contractual. So in terms of if the solution is designed around, I don't know, performance or whatever the aspects are, it becomes contractual that Hitachi on behalf of the partner will deliver that service to you for what you've signed for. So everything's contractual. So it's not like after a year your storage is going to suddenly disappear. It never works that way with Hitachi, right?
So I'm going to ask a difficult question here, Nazir, and Henning, block your ears for this question. There's a lot of choice out there for customers. How do you suggest customers evaluate partner solutions? Nazir, give me your top 3 things to look for. If you mention Everflex or you mention Hitachi, I'm going to boot you from the call. Yeah, I want your, how do we evaluate Hitachi against other people? And then Malcolm, I'll get to you, and Henning, I'll actually ask you to do that as well.
Actually, that's, so something top of mind, if you look at, again, where the industry is moving, in terms of, and again, we're talking about your even a company that's born in the cloud, if you look at how they do business, I hate to use this example, but the Ubers, and what are they looking for? They're looking for, a company that would give them an end-to-end solution, a company that can provide the infrastructure.
First one. So a company, yes, you got to look, is it an end-to-end solution? Okay.
100%.
What's the second thing?
A company that's built around 100 years of experience, all right, 100 years of quality, being a Japanese company, all right.
Yeah. I can't believe you cheated. Nazir, we're coming back to you. Malcolm, give me your 3 value. No, you're banned from speaking. We've yellow carded you.
Okay. Malcolm, you go.
What are the 3 things people should look at when evaluating partner solutions?
Local offerings. There's one, I've actually jotted them down here. So local offerings, what can we do locally with local staff? The global assistance to South Africa and the South African market. I mean, what are the global guys willing to do to assist us grow locally? We've been through a lot of transformation over the years, and we are a growing company, and I want that support.
Awesome. And the third one?
The third one, I'm trying to... I almost said it.
You're not allowed to. Okay, you've been
a local footprint. Well. So a local footprint of technical support.
I like that. Okay.
Can I just sorry, Daniel.
Yeah.
I didn't finish. Right? So my first point, the end-to-end solution. But I just need to cover some. And when I say end-to-end solution, I mean you get infrastructure. All right, you get technologies that covers unstructured data, semi-structured data, which can tier into the public cloud if required. You get compute solutions, all right? You get analytics, you get AI, you get machine learning, all from one company, right? All built and packaged as a service that you can consume when required. I think for me, that's the biggest selling point from Hitachi Vantara. End-to-end solution, you package as you like and on demand. Yeah.
Okay, Henning, if you weren't representing Hitachi and a customer said, I've got Hitachi and 2 others there, what are the 3 things that the customer should be looking at to evaluate, to select the right partner? I've got an end-to-end solution. I've got local offerings. I've got global assistance. What else do we have?
Yeah. So for me, you can't buy better technology than what you buy from Hitachi, right? It's the best.
So evaluate the technology.
Yeah, you can't buy better technology, right? And I think it's been like that for the last 20 or 30 years. Hitachi will never be the cheapest in the market, but I think if you do a fair comparison, then often, it's the same price level, sometimes cheaper, sometimes more expensive, but it'll never be the cheapest, but it's the best. And sometimes we're not selling to all customers in the market, because you will have customers as well saying that I don't mind if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 days per year where my technology doesn't work, because I can work with that. And then the next day we talk to a hospital or bank saying that, just 1 minute, and then it's a catastrophe for us, right? So some customers will benefit from using the cloud. Some customers will benefit from buying cheap technology, and some will be a great fit for together with Hitachi. So it's not really one size fits all, and I think that we need to say that as well. One key thing to notice is that from Hitachi, I've been here 7 years now, and we used to be selling what you mentioned to the big banks, and we still do that. So we have a big market share when it comes to the biggest installations, but now we're going more and more down in what we call a mid-market, still bringing some of the top level technology to that market. to that tier or to the mid market as well. And I think that's really interesting.
Awesome. So you must be learning new things all the time, which is brilliant. That's, you know, that mid-market just operates differently because we don't have endless divisions and endless departments. And what you sell, we need to deliver, which is brilliant. Who is the person or team that you speak to when considering an Everflex solution, Nazir? Who do we, if we've got audience members that are out there, who do we chat to? Who do they contact, and how do they find out more information?
Well, there's a very supportive team locally, a Hitachi office. They've got salespeople there who are quite skilled at addressing any requirements when it comes to Everflex. You can reach out to your distribution partner, which is First Distribution. I mean, Malcolm and I are always willing to help and channel the effort in the right direction. And then if you want, I mean, Henning's also on the call. He's part of all the Everflex deals. But I think first call would be the local Hitachi team. I think
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Our assistant.
And then how do you find people are judging the success of a deployment of this nature, Malcolm or Nazir? How do you know that this was, and it could be as glib as, yes, the workloads are working, but how do we judge this project, this deployment, this to be a success? What are we looking for?
Malcolm, you can go first.
Yeah, no, I'm just okay. So I'm just trying to think of all the accolades we received from our business partners that are doing this. End users, they've needed what they've needed when if they have had to grow, it's been already, it's there for them. And I'm talking about the growth within the storage units and all that, and the monthly billings. I wish I could say something negative and actually give you something. The guys have moaned about this or said, and I can't. And I'm sorry to do this, but I'm serious. The guys are very grateful, thankful, if I may, and their business is working on it. They've structured the business around it, and they're reaping the benefits of it now. Whether it's from a financial perspective, you mentioned ROIs earlier, or they're getting to the end users quicker, or the services that they're now offering to their partners or the end users, it's quicker, it's better, it's on the ball. There's no longer a 4 to 6 weeks delay with all the delays that we're having at the moment. Look at 12 to 16 weeks delays on kits and all that kind of stuff. The guys are able to do what they can do in the cloud on-prem, and they've got control of it.
Okay,
full control.
Nice. So maybe the next question is for you, Nazir. With Everflex being new and the new opportunities presented by the solution, what do you think customers buying teams need to know? Not the techies, the person that's paying for this thing. What do they need to know about Everflex, which might not be as evident?
Sorry, I know we've run on this word a lot, but the word flexibility comes to my mind again, right?
Okay.
Flexibility, and the big thing in my mind is control, right? So you have the flexibility to design what you want for what you require right now, and you have the control. Or, Henning started off by saying, what's the biggest thing that's important to CI right now? It's data, right? If you lose your data, your business goes down. So now you have control of that consumption model in your data center, and it's your data, as opposed to, well, where else it can be. Yeah. For me, the control aspect is key. Yeah.
Henning, a question for you. For our skeptical South African customers, what is a logical starting point for an Everflex solution where we can test it out? Is there a logical point which you see again and again and again, which allows them to try Everflex, but not to dive in too far?
Yeah, if this is per size or per box or per whatever, so every time you have a new solution, right? Even the smallest 300 and whatever box, or two of these boxes, right? 100 terabyte, 5-year term, that can fit into an Everflex solution. So it doesn't have to be 10 times whatever and new Jupiter boxes, as we call them, the biggest. It doesn't have to be that. The key thing is that the term will normally have to be 2 to 3 years at least.
Okay.
The commit period, right? But otherwise, what we often do is we take a first discussion, spend half an hour just saying, okay, what are the options? How much data do you have? Do you have a cloud strategy? Yes or no? Because we also have customers with old technology. They're paying too much, they think, in maintenance costs. But on the same side, they're saying that, but we don't have $500,000 to do a replace now because we have this cloud strategy. So we're a little bit up in the corner. We're paying too much for maintenance. How can we find something we can keep for the next 2 to 3 years? And then, of course, for us, sometimes they find out, okay, if it's 100% right after 2 or 3 years, it doesn't really make sense to move all of it. We just move half of it, but then we still have this semi-new box that we can then continue for another 2 or 3 years after that, right? So it gives a lot of this, what we've been talking about now a few times, flexibility, but especially customers with old technology with this, we have this dream to move to the cloud, but we haven't been able to do it yet.
So you're looking for a business unit, or you're looking for a system that's going to be replaced, and you could create an island.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need a starting point, right? So it cannot just be a disk upgrade. That doesn't really make sense, right? So it has to be a new footprint, or a new box, or a new journey, as I often call it, right?
Awesome. Malcolm, this is not a question I think you're going to answer, but where can architects or solution teams get more information and get informed on Everflex? Is there training available through FD, or where do they get more information?
So more information, you can definitely go to hitachi.com. They have a whole portal on Everflex. You can get the white papers, you can get some of the technical documents, all that kind of stuff. HitachiVantara.com, and thank you, Naz.
Thanks, Naz.
Good luck finding that.
Pre-sales guy.
Reach out to Naz, Ahmed.
It's online, and you can get that online.
Naz, maybe this was poor Malcolm's question. Are there any local references you want to chat about, highlight, or are they all on the website as well?
Look, I can tell you there's definitely reference cases of customers locally. So if anybody wants to chat about them, happy to engage. Obviously, we can't share details over the call, but happy to engage with if any guys have questions where customers are using Everflex today. So we can have that conversation with the customer.
So for everyone, is a state secret that Nazir and Malcolm can share with you. Just reach out to them. If you haven't on LinkedIn, reach out and connect with them. I find them very active in sharing good information, so it's worthwhile. This is my question for our guest from Over the Waters, Henning. Because you can see my technical level is quite low, this is quite a technical topic. What's the top 2 questions I didn't ask due to my lack of knowledge?
About technology or
about Everflex?
About Everflex, yeah. Oh, good question. Because you asked about sort of what is the starting point, what is the, I think actually we have been around it more or less. What didn't you ask? Sort of, you didn't ask levels. You didn't ask about commitment levels.
Okay.
So we can take the one.
Okay.
Price levels is a little bit complicated, but it's a bit down to what Malcolm said. So what we always say that it shouldn't be more expensive than the public cloud, and pretty often it will be less expensive. But of course, it's like, do you want to have top technology on-prem versus a cheap solution in the cloud, right? Does that how do you actually compare that? But I mentioned about the commitment term, it has to be 2 or 3 years or more. The commitment level. So if you have a box, let's say 200 terabyte, how much of that do you promise to consume, if you put it that way? And normally we say that our commitment level should be around 50%, and many of our competitors in the market ask for 70 or 80%, and that comes a bit down to that flexibility we talked about before, meaning that you promise that you use half of it and you pay for half of it. If you use less, then you still pay for half, but if you let's say you use 60%, then you pay for the 60%. And that's lower than many of our competitors. It doesn't have to be 50% flat. It can be, let's say, 80% the first year if you have this cloud strategy, saying that I know I use, if it's 200 terabyte gross, then I use 160. But I know that I'll be moving down because I want to move workloads to the cloud. So I want to commit to 160 the first year, then I want to do 120 commit terabyte the second year, and so on. So it's just the average that we normally say that you need to commit to half of the capacity you have available. That's normally our starting point. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great answer there.
It's flexible. It's flexible.
Yeah. Flexible.
Did you mention that? It's flexible. Yeah.
There's your three.
Who mentioned flexibility? Come on. Naz, as the
sorry, I had to coin it.
As the pre-sales owner here, is there any major releases that you're most excited about on Everflex? Is there anything coming down the line, or is it still so new you're taking off the plastic?
No. So look, something that was probably I don't want to say released, that launched maybe a year now to 9 months, was the virtual storage as a service. Again, with storage as a service, but I think the beauty of Everflex is that you can combine, Henning maybe might just correct me here, but you can from a solution perspective, you can combine any solution you see on the Hitachi website into an Everflex model. I think that's the beauty of it. Yeah, you don't need to go look for Everflex on the Hitachi website. You find a solution, you bring it to Henning, and he'll put it to the model for you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good point.
Malcolm, any summary for our audience?
Have a look at Everflex with Hitachi, if I may. I mean, there's three words that the Hitachi use when it comes to Everflex, and I mentioned it earlier. It's simple, elastic, and comprehensive. And that's just how they go to market is with this product. Keep it as simple as possible, allow you to do as a service, and then on a comprehensive perspective, and as touched on now, is have a look at the Hitachi software offerings, hardware offerings, and how can you put that in a comprehensive solution going forward under Everflex.
Yeah,
excellent. Henning, you get the last word as the guest to the ball.
Yeah, thank you. But for me, it's what we mentioned before. It is not on-prem versus the cloud. They can work perfectly together. One thing I like about the cloud is the old song Hotel California. You can always check out, but you can never leave. So that's quite important to keep in mind when you talk about the cloud.
Well, shots fired.
That's brilliant.
I promise not to start singing, but
no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And what I've taken out of today is that there's a blessing of choice. It's really a buyer's market. And for our audience members, if you don't know what's available, just ask. Before you make any decision, there is a flexible Everflex solution out there for you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for giving us the morning. Thank you, Nazir, Malcolm, and Henning with the unpronounceable surname. It's lovely to have you again. And I hope you have an amazing end to your year, guys. I hope you shoot the lights out and drinks are on you.
I appreciate that.
Good luck.
Before I get back, I'm going to hand over to Carrie.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys, for attending today. I hope you found today's session insightful and that we answered some of your questions. We always appreciate your input in our session, so pop me a mail, send me a tweet, an email on LinkedIn, and let me know what you thought of today's session, and obviously what you'd like to see in future webinars.